Mark Carney and Diana Fox Carney, a Canadian partnership of vision and values. In the world of finance and public leadership, few figures have commanded as much respect as Mark Carney, the economist who became the only person ever to lead both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. Yet behind the headlines, the policy speeches, and the global recognition stands another figure who has been equally important in shaping his journey, Diana Fox Carney, his wife and intellectual companion for over 3 decades. Their story is not a tale of luxury or political maneuvering, but rather of two bright minds who met in the corridors of academia, fell in love over shared ideals, and built a life that balances intellect, family, and service. A meeting of minds at Oxford. Mark Carney and Diana Fox first met at the University of Oxford in the early 1990s. Carney, a young scholar from Canada, had already graduated from Harvard with high distinction and arrived at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Diana, born and raised in the United Kingdom, was studying international relations and development economics. They encountered each other not in a formal lecture but during a university hockey event, a small but charming detail that reveals the naturalness of their connection. Friends who knew them at the time described their relationship as one based on shared curiosity and quiet confidence. Both were driven not by status or ambition, but by a deep desire to understand how systems, economic, political, and human, actually work. Their friendship grew into a partnership. Within a few years, they were inseparable, discussing policy theories one moment and laughing about campus life the next. After graduation, their bond deepened, and in 1994, they married. Early marriage and shared ambitions. After their wedding, Mark and Diana began their life together in Toronto, where Carney had started working at Goldman Sachs. Life in the finance world was intense, but Diana stood by his side, providing a grounding influence. Her background in development economics gave her a broader perspective on the impact of financial policies on real lives, something that deeply influenced Mark's own approach to economics. The couple later moved to Ottawa, settling in the prestigious Rockcliffe Park neighborhood. There, they began raising their 4 daughters while continuing their respective careers. Mark's rise in the Bank of Canada was rapid, but he remained known for humility and discipline, traits that Diana's presence reinforced. Diana Fox Carney, more than a banker's wife. While many saw her as the wife of a central banker, Diana Fox Carney was far more than that. Educated at Oxford and deeply involved in climate change, sustainable development, and economic equality, she carved her own identity as a respected thinker. She worked with organizations focused on global development, particularly around environmental and agricultural sustainability. She became a research associate at Chatham House, one of the world's leading policy institutes, and later led initiatives connecting business leaders with environmental responsibility. Her voice, often subtle but powerful, complemented Mark's more public role. When he spoke about stabilizing markets, she was often speaking about stabilizing the planet. The London Years, a global stage. In 2013, Mark Carney made history when he was appointed governor of the Bank of England, the first non-British citizen to ever hold the position. It was a role of immense responsibility, especially in the aftermath of the global financial crisis. The Carneys moved to London, and for 7 years, they became one of Britain's most closely observed families. Diana adapted gracefully to the British public eye. She continued her advocacy work while managing family life and supporting Mark through the complexities of his job. Some British tabloids focused on their Canadian modesty, a refreshing contrast to the often flamboyant world of London finance. Despite the pressures of media scrutiny and political tension, the couple maintained their grounded lifestyle. They chose not to live extravagantly, preferring a private and intellectually active household. Friends describe evenings filled with open discussions about economics, art, and the moral responsibilities of leadership. A partnership rooted in principles. One of the hallmarks of the Carneys' relationship is their shared sense of duty. Mark's economic philosophy, often emphasizing inclusive growth, social responsibility, and climate risk, mirrors Diana's lifelong commitment to sustainable development. In public speeches, Carney often credited his wife's influence on his thinking. When he became the United Nations Special Envoy on Climate Action and Finance, it was a continuation of the themes that had long defined their partnership. Their relationship serves as an example of how intellectual equality strengthens emotional bonds. Diana was never simply the woman behind a powerful man, she was a partner shaping the ideas that made him powerful. Returning to Canada, full circle. After Mark Carney stepped down from his post at the Bank of England in 2020, the family returned to Canada. The move marked a new chapter, not retirement, but redirection. They settled again in Ottawa, where Carney began focusing on climate finance, global advisory work, and public service. Diana continued her advocacy for sustainable policies, particularly in food security and environmental economics. Their 4 daughters, now grown, represent the continuity of their parents' values: educated, thoughtful, and socially aware. The Carneys often emphasize the importance of raising children with an understanding of privilege and responsibility. A glimpse into their personal world. Those close to the couple describe them as private yet approachable. They are known for enjoying long walks, lively dinner conversations, and family gatherings that mix humor with deep reflection. Mark, despite his reputation as a polished economist, is said to have a warm and occasionally mischievous sense of humor. Diana, equally witty, provides balance with her quiet confidence. Together, they have built not only a family but a partnership that thrives on respect and mutual inspiration. Faith, discipline, and resilience. Every strong relationship faces challenges. For the Carneys, the test came from the sheer intensity of public life. Balancing career, family, and privacy while being constantly scrutinized by the media required both resilience and trust. Diana once remarked in an interview that public service can consume you if you don't anchor yourself. That anchor, in their case, was each other. Even when oceans or time zones separated them, as during Mark's frequent international commitments, they kept communication constant and priorities clear. Their faith in purpose, and their disciplined lifestyle, became the invisible foundation behind their success. Legacy beyond finance. Mark Carney's legacy will undoubtedly include his leadership of 2 major central banks and his role in reshaping global finance. But those who have observed him closely believe that his greatest strength lies in his moral clarity, something cultivated not just through education and experience but through partnership. Diana's steady influence transformed him from a technocrat into a leader with heart. Their shared commitment to climate responsibility, ethical capitalism, and family values gives their story a dimension rarely seen in modern public life. Together, they represent a model of what leadership can look like when guided by conscience rather than convenience. A modern Canadian love story. At its core, the story of Mark and Diana Carney is a love story, not of passion displayed on magazine covers, but of companionship nurtured over decades. It's about 2 people who met through ideas, built a life through purpose, and continue to inspire through example. In a world where power often overshadows principle, the Carneys have shown that it's possible to hold both, to lead without arrogance, to love without spectacle, and to build a family rooted in humility and thoughtfulness. They remain, in many ways, the embodiment of a modern Canadian ideal: intelligent yet compassionate, ambitious yet grounded,